I had a Maserati. I had a Mini Cooper, John Cooper Works GCW Cabrio, 211 horsepower, red, beautiful. My favorite actually.
You're the monk who bought a Ferrari.
I am a monk who sold his Maserati. When you grow too fast, grow rich too fast, you don't know how to handle your wealth. Then I think you kind of get lost and you become too materialistic and you lose your good friends. And like we said in the beginning, life is more about love and relationships and God. So I think I started losing those good things. When an innocent Ladakhi girl or a guy, when she's possessed and then she says, I'm from this place, I'm from that place, and you have never heard of such place until you verify and you realize that there was such a place, as somebody had fallen down a gorge and drowned or killed or whatever, and just very unhappy and just wandering around looking for liberation.
Welcome to AJIO presents The Ranveer Show. We're known for our spiritual podcast because truly, after doing so many episodes, I believe that it boils down to your spiritual sensibilities when it comes to long-term happiness and peace. So when we're speaking about achieving it in style, of course, there's a material side to things. There's a money-oriented, family-oriented side to things. But true peace, happiness, and curiosity are fueled because of spiritual conversations just like this. Had countless conversations about Hinduism on the show. This is our first Buddhism-centric conversation with Palga Rinpoche. Went to some dark places as well. He's got an incredible life story. He's a monk who adopted the monk life very early on in his own life, left it in his young adulthood, went to Europe, made a lot of money, and then figured that money is not the answer. Came back and continued his monkhood journey right from the place he left. This conversation also goes to some mystical places. So whether you're trying to learn about Buddhism, whether you're trying to get a dark energy rush from this episode, or whether you're trying to answer your own spiritual questions, you will enjoy this particular episode. Before I let you slip into it, remember, this look has been styled by AJIO. So if you want to be fashionable just like Fashion Bhaiya, make sure you check out the options available at AJIO. And of course, as with any TRS episode, our episodes are available on Spotify 48 hours before they're available anywhere else in the world because we're a Spotify exclusive. Our meditation app Level is now live on the App Store and the Play Store. And now, I'll let you slip into another epic spiritual conversation of AJIO Presents TRS, baby. Palga Rinpoche, our first shoot in our new studio, and I could not have wished for a more meaningful guest. Welcome, sir. Welcome home.
Thank you.
It was such an important moment in my life meeting you for the first time because I was fully torn apart. I was very broken. Yeah. And I think we were in a room with my level team. And often the burden of leadership is that you can't show all your emotions in front of your whole team. It's just what captaincy is about. And I knew that when I was talking to you, you knew exactly what was on in my head. I feel like my life has gone just upward after meeting you. So I don't know what you did. And I'm also kind of a little bit broken in life right now as we speak. And I know you can tell that I'm not okay even now.
No, I think you're doing very well.
No, thank you, sir. Again, here I talk about emotions. And I think that's what the world doesn't understand. Mm-hmm. You know, Johnny Depp says that I hope that everyone becomes rich and famous to understand that that's not the answer. I feel like I've reached that place in life where you realize love means so much more and God means so much more than all these material things.
True.
Now I'll ask you, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you so much. I just came to Bombay briefly for some commitments. And on top of that list, my wish list, on top of that was to try to meet you. And I'm really happy to be meeting you. And I'm really fortunate to have this opportunity today to speak with you on your wonderful show in this beautiful office. So congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Really, I feel, the people who visit a particular space leave a bit of themselves here. And since our space got renovated, I feel like all the old energies have also kind of gotten renovated. That's why I'm so happy to have you first here. I just wanted to start with a kind of Shubh Muhurat. But let's get straight into it also. You've had like a very interesting life, to say the least. If you had to speak about the story of your life in 4 sentences, what would those 4 sentences be?
4 sentences, difficult. Let me try.
Okay.
To be recognized as a reincarnation of the previous Palga Rinpoche. To have slept on the sidewalk when I was extremely poor. To have experienced extreme wealth at a very early age. I was 26 something. I was already a multimillionaire, and having driven all the big cars, slept in big hotels, worn the big clothes. And then the 4th one would be to realize that, like you said, love, God, inner happiness, those things are more important than materialistic things. So yeah.
Okay. That was the introduction to Palga Rinpoche and his story. No, actually, let's get into the story.
Sure.
What's your earliest memory in life? Or do you just remember things from your previous birth? Did you come with those memories?
Frankly and honestly speaking, when I was young, I used to remember a lot about my previous life. I used to remember being murdered, being killed. The previous Palga Rinpoche was killed by the Chinese invading forces when China invaded Tibet in 1959. So he stayed back and to protect his monastery in eastern Tibet, and he got tortured and killed. So I remember those brief moments of torture and some pain and to being killed. That was, I think, one of my earliest memories of my life, to remember the torture and the trauma of the previous life.
What has Tibet historically been? Because there's a lot of Indians and probably even international listeners who don't know enough about Tibet.
Okay.
But Tibet has its own very mystical, very spiritual history. Draw out a picture, if you can, a little bit based on, I want to say what you remember from your past life, but I'm a little embarrassed to say that.
Yeah, it's a question, don't worry.
But what is Tibet?
In a nutshell, Tibet is a protected heaven where Buddhism thrived and survived. Not only survived, but thrived. They were protected by the mountains of the Himalayas. And Buddhism, which was founded in India by Gautam Buddha, and then it was transported to Tibet. All the Sanskrit teachings and Pali teachings were translated very rigorously, very truthfully, word by word, into Boti, which is Tibetan language. And
what's the language?
Tibetan language. We call it Boti.
Boti.
Boti, you know?
B-O-T-I.
B-H-O-T-I, Boti, yeah. Because it's a Himalayan language, actually. So we don't call it the Tibetan language anymore. So that's a place where the teachings of the Buddha were studied, contemplated, practiced, and taught for centuries. So Tibet is mainly known for the teachings of the Buddha. Yeah.
What is the born religion?
The born religion, from what I know, and I do have some friends who belong to born religion. Born religion was the actual religion of Tibet before Buddhism was introduced to Tibet. And born religion, it's very similar, has many similarities to Buddhism. I think they put a lot of emphasis also on shamanism, besides the core philosophy, which is similar to Buddhism. They put a lot of emphasis on shamanism also.
Okay. Because from what I understand, when Buddhism expanded outside of India, it incorporated many of the local traits in order to expand itself.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that the Buddhism that's mainly followed in Tibet is sort of a fusion of born as well as Buddhist understanding.
Yes, you're very right. We did borrow a lot of elements from the born religion. For example, I think I'm right to say the drum. There's a hand drum, a small hand drum, that I think was mainly used by shaman practitioners. And also I think in India, Damru was prevalent. So even though it was not a Tibetan thing or a Himalayan thing, I think it was borrowed from other cultures.
Okay.
Also, I think there is this small trumpet which is made from the femur, the leg. I think it's the femur. I'm not really sure.
Of a human?
Yeah, of a human leg. if somebody dies. So they would just go and they will check out the leg. If it's a good, it's a good looking leg, especially if it's I think a footballer's leg would be very very healthy one. The bone density would be crazy, but then they would just check the leg and ask for the family, because people, I think in Tibet, many parts of Tibet, they don't actually burn the body. They call it sky burial. So they chop up the body and they offer it to the vultures as an offering.
Wow. Okay. Okay. While I began asking you about your life and previous life, I want to actually talk a little bit more about Tibet and what significance does it have with respect to both China and India.
Okay.
So roughly in about 1959, the Chinese invaded Tibet in order to expand their own country, because the Chinese Communist Party has an expansionist policy. They're always trying to get more land. It's just how their ideals are.
Yes.
They basically went to Tibet and said, now you're a part of our country. It's kind of like what the British did in India.
Yes.
That forced a lot of Tibetans, especially people following Buddhism, to come down to India, and they settled in Himachal Pradesh mainly, if I'm not mistaken. Have I said anything wrong?
Yes. No.
Okay.
No,
so
you're right so far.
This is what happened.
Yes.
And they were accepted and protected by the Indian government, which is why the Dalai Lama sits in Himachal Pradesh.
Yes.
Why did you join your hands when I said Dalai Lama?
Just his name. We respect him so much.
Introduce us to this.
I don't know whether you can introduce someone who is enlightened,
No, I think everyone knows who the Dalai Lama is. I'm saying introduce your sense of respect.
Acha. Again, I think my sense of respect comes from my inability to understand the nature of enlightenment. Someone who has seen his country getting decimated at a very early age. I think he was in teens, 15, 16, if I'm not wrong. He had to escape Tibet, and to see his countrymen being butchered for no reason, and then having to flee his country and to come to another country, though India has always been Tibet's big brother, as the Dalai Lama puts it, because without India, there would be, I think, no Tibet as we know it. So, and to come to a different country, different climate, and then, but not only to survive, but to thrive and to propagate the Buddha's teachings to each and every corner of the world. I think to such a noble person, even when you hear his name, the least you can do is to fold your palms in respect. That's it.
Okay. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And this is just based on the little bit that I know about Tibetan Buddhism. I believe that the Dalai Lama is the political and spiritual leader.
Yes.
And under him, there are multiple ranks. And Rinpoche is one of those ranks. And you're a Rinpoche.
Yes.
But what is a Rinpoche?
So just to clarify, I am actually Ladakhi. So I'm Indian, even though I practice Buddhism, which was, which became popular in Tibet. But the kind of Buddhism that we practice, we call it Vajrayana Buddhism. Vajrayana, the diamond vehicle. It is practiced, we use mantras, tantras, yantras, besides the core philosophies of the Buddha. It is practiced along the Himalayas. So I'm actually from Ladakh, but then as the de facto spiritual head, as you mentioned, of Buddhism, which we consider to be His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. In the Buddhism that we practice, there are, like you said, many different lineages, Vansh lineages. And out of the many lineages, I think there are like major 4 or 5 lineages. One is our own. We call it the dragon lineage. And within the dragon lineage, I am one of the spiritual gurus, reincarnated gurus.
Okay. I want to actually head into the point of talking about your story. And I feel like context was very important to begin this long podcast that we have ahead of us. If it's okay with you, I would love for you to do a Buddhist chant before we begin the rest of the episode. Because I remember the Buddhist chant you had done at the level office. It changed the full team. So if it's okay with you, sir.
Sure. I would like to chant a mantra. That is the mantra of compassion, mantra of Bhagwan Avalokiteshwar. It is, you can call it the universal mantra of Buddhism. It It liberates us from samsara, all the bad conditions of samsara. It empowers us with generosity, discipline, patience, diligence, meditation, and wisdom, the 6 qualities. So it's a very powerful mantra, and I will be very happy to send the reverberation of this mantra in this office in the form of a chant.
And also to all our listeners in their houses.
Yes, very true. Yeah. To everyone who's listening, who's watching. And so basically, this mantra has 6 syllables. And the meaning of the mantra is actually not as important as the actual vibration of the mantra itself. To chant it, it's more important than to understand the meaning of the mantra. The basic meaning of the mantra means I bow down to the jewel wrapped in the lotus. I bow down, I pay homage to the jewel in the lotus. And the mantra goes like Aum, Mani, Padme, Hum. And this is, trust me, the ultimate mantra, the mantra of all mantras. So I'll do a short chanting. Shkange mage gondo kar zosan gesge volargen tokje change dola zer chere zegla chanza lo om mani padme hong om mani padme hong om mani padme hong om mani padme hong Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum.
Thank you.
So what I would like you to do now is just to feel what you've heard, what you've felt. You notice as soon as you opened your eyes, you were smiling, beaming with your beautiful smile, which you already have anyway, but I think it became a bit wider. So that's what happens when you chant, not only from your throat, but also from your heart, from your soul. It really changes, I think, you at a very molecular level, at a very basic level. It transforms you actually. So the kind of Buddhism that we practice, we believe a lot in transformation. We don't believe too much in struggling bit by bit and to achieve things the hard way. We try to achieve things the smart way, and we aim to transform ourselves into Buddhas, into pure beings. So that's the primary method of the Buddhist Himalayan Buddhism.
So strange that you're using the word transformation. On my own personal spiritual journey, that's a word I've been craving lately a lot. Getting rid of my own shortcomings through the process of transformation. And it's also very strange that through the process of this show, which is my bread and butter, I think God is transforming me through meeting people like yourself. Every time I meet you, I get left with like strength. Like, I've just met you once before, but I'm already feeling that upsurge in strength right now. I really feel like you're some Dragon Ball Z character, and you're just like teaching me like some moves or something on a very spiritual level. Now, after I've said this, we can begin your actual story, sir. At the start of the episode, you said that you have memories of your past life, of passing away because of the Chinese invasion in Tibet. What do you specifically remember other than like the pain?
I remember extreme anger at anything Chinese or, communist party propaganda, anything like that. I remember feeling very angry. I remember telling my mother that this is not my home. I belong someplace else, and that I want to go back. My village is not here. My village is very far away. You're not my parents. You're not my parents. So I think I put my parents through a great deal of childhood trauma. But besides that, the image that I have in my mind is falling down, getting poked, I think with a bayonet, I think. Yeah, so some very graphic images.
And in this life, you were sure that you were supposed to become a Rinpoche.
No, it's a strange thing actually, because My Guruji, the 12th Gelong Rupa, who is the head of our lineage, he saw in his vision, without any doubt, that I was born in Ladakh. Usually what happens when a Rinpoche is born in a place, let's say you here in Bombay, and then Guruji will send a search party saying, ki, I've seen a vision. So go to Bombay, go to Mumbai, and then go to some places, Kolaba, go to Juhu area, go to Bandra, go to Andheri, and then look for this child. He may be roughly this age. His house may have these many members. The main direction of the door is this side, is this many stories, this many windows. So he'll give like a list, and he will also give like some of the previous incarnations, personal items, like my malas. This mala, if you put among 50 malas, I will know which is my mala, because I know exactly where some of the threads are getting worn out. I know exactly when I threaded this mala, some of them were misplaced and I replaced with the new ones. So I know each and every bit of this mala. So he would give some of my previous incarnations, items, so that they will try to check. They will mix with the new items. And in my case, my Guruji didn't have any doubt. So he said he knew it was me. So he just sent a search party. Go and bring him, like Tarek style.
How old were you?
I was 1 that time. So my mother requested that I be allowed to stay with her. So I stayed with my mother until I was 8. So I think I've been to 2nd grade, maybe 2nd and a half grade. Yeah. And then I was taken to a monastery.
Were you thinking about the Buddha, or were you thinking about spiritual things as a kid?
Honestly, sometimes I think, I think I would lie if I say that I was always thinking of the Buddha. That would be a lie. I was a normal kid. I remember reading a lot of Chacha Chaudhary comics. Chacha Chaudhary or Raka Ka Keher. Sabo ko jab gussa aata hai to dur kahin jawalon mein kyun padta hai? Like those things I remember, frankly. I remember eating chocolates that my father used to give me. But honestly, if I remember recalling a Buddha, not that much, to be honest with you. I was just a very normal child.
Okay. I have to ask you about the phase where you began living in the monastery. If we could cover that, but also I want to know why you got slightly disillusioned with monastery life. So take the story forward in whatever way you think is best.
Okay. So basically, when we talk about Rinpoches, or the correct term is actually Tulku. Tulku, Tulku, the correct technical term to describe us. Rinpoche basically means the precious one. It's a bit weird to call myself a precious one, but Tulku is the technical term. Tulku means magically born, magical reborn, something like that. So when a Tulku is born and he is given the title Rinpoche, Tulku and all that, he usually doesn't have a choice. He's brought to the monastery because it's his responsibility to continue the lineage of the previous incarnation and to teach propagate the teachings of the Buddha. So when I was brought to the monastery, I actually studied in Himachal in a small village called Rivalsar, where I think the movie Kareeb was shot. Bobby Deol and Neha, I think. Chori chori jab nazare mili. I remember that song when I was young. It was shot there. So I grew up in that village. And that time, my teacher was very rough. He was from Eastern Tibet. Like very rough man, very strong, very kind, but still very rough. And you may have seen in Shaolin movies where the kid gets a little bit beaten, corporal punishment. I think I've seen it, maybe you can multiply 10 times. I couldn't even escape. The Shaolin kids escape, I was locked in a room and I would wake up at 5 a.m. and meditate the whole day, chant whole day until 6, 7 in the evening.
From 5 to 6 in the evening?
Yeah, maybe 1-2 hours of break during the daytime after lunch. A small siesta and that's it. And during the siesta, I would try to read some Chacha Chaudhary comics, Amar Chitar Katha and Tintin and all that. So I learned English like that.
That's the life of young Tibetan monks?
That's the life of a typical young Rinpoche, young Tulku. Yeah, monks usually enjoy more freedom. Sorry.
Okay. No, go on.
Yeah. Monks actually enjoy more luxury, more freedom. So I used to look outside my 3rd story window. You can go next time, we'll go together. I'll take you to Rivalsar. I'll show you where I grew up. And I used to look down and I used to see monks playing gilli danda. and I would be chanting. Yeah. And I would, with my one eye, I will be chanting, one eye reading scriptures, one eye I'll be looking at the monks. And if I see some of the monks are cheating, I would shout out from the window, you're cheating, you're cheating. So like doing commentary and all that. So yeah, Rinpoche, usually they have much stricter life because we need to learn discipline at a very early age.
Why?
Because we sit on a big throne, which is 5-6 feet, and we teach to from 100 to few thousand people. So just in Ladakh, past 2 months, I've been teaching in all the villages. I haven't had a single day's break in 2 months. And I think I taught to more than a few thousand people. So we have to be disciplined. We cannot just scratch our head whenever we want. We cannot just twist and turn and go for a loo whenever we want. We have to be disciplined.
You have to earn your stripes, basically, even in this life, even though you're carrying certain spiritual lineage from your previous life.
Yes.
Okay. Like you have to re-earn it, basically.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that the meditation kind of encapsulates higher energies in your system to make you ready for your adult life.
That's a very true term that you use, encapsulate. Yeah, it's exactly that. Meditation and all these chantings, all this studying, all this contemplation and the transformation that happens, it encapsulates everything.
I know there's no way to say this story fast, but when you left the monastery also, you didn't have money.
Yeah.
And you worked your way up from there.
Yeah. So the first time when I left my monastery, I think I was around 18 and I'd gone to England. I didn't just go like that. I had a friend who was a computer programmer, a very good friend. And I was very interested in technology. In 1998, I remember someone told me there's something called email and something called computer. That literally blew my mind. And I did a computer course for 6 months. I finished in 1 month because I was so hungry for knowledge of computers. It just fascinated me. So I was a little bit techie and I was trying to learn some coding, Java, C++ and all that. And then this programmer I met and he saw that I was very curious. So he thought that it'll do me good to see the West. So he invited me to England on a 6 months visa. I overstayed. And I stayed for 2 years, which I'm not proud of, to break the law of a country like that. But I did gain a lot of experience.
And money?
Initial time when I went to England, no, I was quite poor. I struggled a lot. But then when I came back, then I think I earned my points then. I got a lot of teachings from my gurus. I spent 3 years and 3 months in meditation. I think I accumulated a lot of good karma. And after that, when I returned, then I started meeting it's like attracting a lot of, positive people. Some of them are extremely rich. And I'm talking European rich. And they really helped me with a lot of money. They borrowed me a lot of money. They taught me how to invest in stock, which I did. They helped me invest on my behalf. And the money grew, obviously. Then I became very rich very fast. And again, I fell into another trap. For a few good years, 5-6 years, I think.
You enjoyed material wealth.
Yeah, I mean, to the extreme. I remember 2 big diamond studs. I remember a mohawk. I'll try to share some photos with you.
Wow.
Though I think maybe now is a good time to, bring them out of the hard drive and share it with the world. I think, yeah, I trust you with that. I've always kept it secret. Not like I'm ashamed or anything, but just still, it was a silly phase in my life. So Gucci, Armani from top to bottom. I looked like, these showrooms threw up on me. I had a Maserati. I had a Mini Cooper, John Cooper Works, GCW, Cabrio, 211 horsepower, red. Beautiful. My favorite, actually.
You're a monk who bought a Ferrari.
I am a monk who sold his Maserati. That's what some people call me, actually. So yeah, a few good things. Yeah.
Why did you leave it then?
Because... I don't know, Ranveer. I mean, when I was okay, when I was poor, obviously you suffer. You hardly can put bread on the table and a morsel into your mouth, and you hardly have a roof over your head. Like I spent a few days, maybe a week on the sidewalk in England when I was very poor. I had depression, and I got kicked out from my job, and so many stories. So being too poor was an extreme. Being too rich was another extreme. Then I started to attract people that I could not really relate to. People who are always too materialistic, though I don't judge people who have money. Obviously, it's their own good karma. But then I think when you grow too fast, grow rich too fast, you don't know how to handle your wealth, then I think you kind of get lost and you become too materialistic and you lose your good friends. And like we said in the beginning, life is more about love and relationships and God. So I think I started losing those good things. So I was starting to feel empty. Every day, just wake up, go to the gym in my Maserati, and just work out and talk to some of the, I think, footballers like Ricardo Quaresma. He used to come to my gym.
Okay.
I love him. Yeah, his Trivela is something else. So
this was in Portugal.
Yeah. He was in my gym for 1 month. I think he was going through some rehab. That time, I think he was playing in Porto, if I remember.
He was supposed to be better than Ronaldo when he was young.
Yes.
And the narrative in football is that he slipped off a little bit, but who's to judge what kind of mental health issues you're going through? I think circumstances are big.
But I'll tell you, his vibe from his heart, it was very pure. He was a genuinely good guy. They used to call him Cigano in Portuguese. Cigano, I think, is a very endearing term for calling the gypsy, because he came from the gypsy background. So with a very endearing way, Portuguese used to call him O Cigano, like that gypsy, he's ours. And yeah. So anyway, so it was becoming very like repetitive, the same cycle, 5-star hotels, Michelin food. And Barcelona 2012, I remember Rids, I was stayed in a suite. I spent 15 lakhs on 2 nights, which was, I think, too much. Some of my friends got food poisoning. Seriously, I think I still may have the receipt.
You're born in poverty and then you go to spending 15 lakhs in 2 nights.
It was crazy. I used to have like few ATM machines. So when I used to go to the, in Europe, they have like these ATM centers and you have like 3 or 4 ATMs. So just show off to my friends. I used to put 1 card in each and quickly type before the time runs out and take money out and give it to the friends and again take the next amount, 3-4 cards, put the pins. Just crazy. And I was like, yeah.
I don't think I've spoken to someone on this show who's seen this amount of life, including your previous life.
Yeah.
Like you've seen the most amount of life and then you return to like spiritual living and love. Says a lot.
Yeah, I think I'm fortunate that I saw everything quite soon and I managed to get back on track. And right now I'm happy with whatever little I have. Sometimes I have little, sometimes I have little but more than little. Right now I live on donations. I teach and whatever people give me, 1 rupee, 10 rupee, 1,000, 10,000, it's up to them. I don't charge for anything, nothing at all. So yeah.
Is there a shortage of anything in your life?
No, nothing at all. I think as long as I can pay for my air tickets to come to Bombay and see you, to eat vada pav. Honestly, as long as I can I love photography. I've won a few decent cameras and good lenses. I love photography. So I like taking photos, traveling, seeing different places. As long as I can do that, I have enough money for that. I don't think I need a Maserati anymore.
In your extreme rich phase, you used to think about the monastery and your purpose and these things?
Yeah, I used to think maybe like, is this really what I want to do? I would wake up in the morning and I could smell my mother's bread, kambiri. It's a North Indian dish. And Ladakh, we call it kambir. I think they also serve it in Punjab. So my mother used to make them on stone, flat stone. Like the smell is very nice, very thick. My mouth is watering, sorry. And you put, you just cut it in half. You put a little bit of jam, a little bit of butter. Next time when you come to Ladakh, trust me, it's something else. So kambiri, I used to remember. And I used to wake up and I could almost smell my mother's kambiri and her voice, asking me to wake up. I would wake up and then I would realize I'm in Europe. I'm in a nice place, but not in my home. And I would have to eat some bread and all that, So yeah, so I used to think about my monastery. I used to think about my colleagues. I used to think about my spiritual path, whether I've deviated too far, whether it's too late, and whether I'm doing the right thing. So, but then I kind of got trapped because what happens when you enter a certain circle in the society, there's what we call in Hindi len den, give and take. So even if you want to withdraw, you can't. They won't allow you to because their own happiness, their version of happiness depends on you being a part of the circle. So it becomes like a cog in the wheel. So it becomes very difficult to come out of it. I realized this. So either you just, gracefully escape gradually, or you just immediately eject,
Cold turkey.
Yeah, cold turkey. I think I did the cold turkey bit.
Bounced one day.
Yeah, I just sold everything, bought a ticket to back to India, came to Darjeeling, donated everything to, we have two monasteries, one in Himachal, one in Darjeeling, donated to Darjeeling and Himachal, came to zero. And then again spent 2 years in retreat just to detoxify all the Michelin food and all the all the traumas of the big brands.
Okay. So that's your story. So many more questions. And honestly, this is where the podcast begins for me.
Okay.
Because I had to give the listeners context.
Yes.
Before we move on to what's happened after that point and kind of what's up now and your perspectives on life, which is the true depth of the podcast for me, we have a segment called AJIO Presents Keep It Casual, where we unlock the human mind a little bit more in order to move forward in the podcast. So I hope you're ready for this round.
Yes, okay. Totally.
Okay, AJIO Presents Keep It Casual with Palga Rinpoche. Sir, now you can't think too long about the answers. You have to kind of answer it quick. And then I might ask you tangential questions just to understand you a little bit more. Okay. Palga Rinpoche, in your free time, what do you do now?
I read, I write, and I think.
Okay. What do you read?
Novels, Buddhist teachings, and comments on my Instagram page.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you think?
I think about the future based on my past experiences and based on what I'm doing right now.
Next question. For you, what would an ideal death in this lifetime be?
A death where I have no regrets.
But do you have a version of it physically?
I'm glad you asked. I have this vision that I'm lying flat on the ground, looking up, and the sun shining with a blue sky, like this beautiful color you have. Yeah, dark blue sky, and the sun shining through the leaves, and me passing away.
Okay. Do you have an incline towards when it is?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Okay.
I hope I'm able to achieve certain things in my life for the benefit of the society. And then, but even now, if I were to pass away tomorrow, I have no regrets. I'm ready to. Yeah.
You want to quickly tell us what those achievements could be?
To help people look for true happiness, which is within and not outside. That's the main.
Next question, sir. Other than your monk robes, you had to die in another outfit. What outfit would it be?
I used to wear a lot of Hugo Boss suits. I used to have a few. I used to love their cut and their style.
Okay.
I used to wear mostly Boss black. Okay. For casual, I had Boss orange and green. Right now, I think I would just wear some track pants, maybe some Tiger Onitsuka shoes, and some New Era cap.
Okay.
Baseball. I like baseball cap. Yeah. Put it back, and maybe some nice body hugging T-shirt.
Okay, like a gym goer.
Yes.
Sporty. That's your actual style beyond being a monk.
Little bit.
All right, cool. I think style says a lot about who the human is. Okay, what's the key to making money?
The key to making money, honestly speaking, if you ask me honestly, as a Rinpoche, as a guru, is to accumulate good karma. Number one. There's no other funda.
You want to expand on that thought?
Because if you don't accumulate good karma, you will attract the wrong kind of wealth, which will destroy the remaining wealth that you have already and break relations. And life doesn't become worthwhile after that.
It's like having a rotten apple in an apple basket.
True.
Okay. What's the key to giving it up?
Renunciation. Inner renunciation. True renunciation. Renunciation based on realization.
Let's go one layer deeper. How do you realize?
I think you have to be fortunate to realize it, either through karmic circumstances or you go through a deep trauma and then some big misfortune befalls. And then you think like this is futile. Like when COVID happened, I think it opened the eyes of many people and made them realize that even though I'm a crorepati, I'm not able to find a single oxygen tank and I'm not able to find a bed for my dying mother. So I think it was a wake-up call. So the one good quality about suffering is that it helps you to renounce certain things.
Wow. Okay. I want to actually ask you a little bit more about that. You said something about being lucky through circumstance right now. I feel there's only two kinds of people who actually choose spirituality in material life. One, the ones who are born into a spiritual family, and the second are the ones who go through suffering. And there's nothing else that I've figured.
Yes.
It's just that you either go through suffering enough to accept that spirituality is more important than anything, or you're born in a family which teaches you that from the time you're a baby. Anyway, am I right in saying that?
Yes, you are. You are really. Yes.
All right. Next question, sir. So you can't think too long. One word that comes to your mind when I say the following words: meditation,
Peace.
crystals,
Clear.
ghosts,
Phantom.
Buddhism,
Love and compassion.
Buddha.
Speechless.
Okay. All right. They say that the place you stop in these one word games are the kind of thoughts that occupy the most real estate in your mind. Yeah. Like for me, it would be love. I would like stop. Love.
Happiness.
All right. What do most Indians not understand about Buddhism?
That Buddhism is not only limited to chanting. And from a Buddhist perspective, that Buddhism, though has many similarities with Hinduism, it is very different in some other ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll expand on this after this round. And
Sure.
With Keep It Casual, this is the point. It allows me to go in different directions as a podcaster.
Sure.
So it's something I'm very interested in knowing. All right. Next question. What do Indians not understand about Ladakh?
That Ladakh is not part of China. Ladakh is not part of, maybe Ladakh is not in the area of Northeast. Many people don't understand that Ladakh is very Indian. That Ladakhis are very proud Indians. There are many states in India. Some of them are happy to be part of our beautiful constitution, to have this national identity. In Ladakh, we don't have that. Everybody is, I can say everybody is patriotic. We respect the constitution. We obey the rule of law, and we're very happy that Ladakh is a part of India and that we're Indians.
Yeah. This is why I love this podcast. Messages like this
Yeah.
come out. Okay. Because you spent time in Europe, the next question for you is the best and worst thing about Europe.
Best things: punctuality, respect for cultures, a little bit more, not that much stereotyping, and certain things, they're very professional, and they like to spend their time, I think, in a more mindful way. Like when they go to nature, they don't take their phones with you. Like I remember when I was eating with my friends, there were some elderly ladies, and they scolded me for, I think that was iPhone 4. And I was just scrolling through something, and they scolded me. And they said in Germany, like they were Germans, and they said they call them social killers. So certain things, when they eat, they actually talk, they converse, and they have a way of eating. And there's so many things good about them. Negative things, I would say, spirituality-wise, not as deep as Indians. That's, I think, the main thing that I saw.
Then it causes other pains. And
yeah. It creates a lot of unanswered questions in their minds, which they cannot solve with, science, money, or good eating habits, or punctuality. So there are certain things that go way beyond that. Yeah.
Okay. Another outfit question for you. I'm taking you back to Europe a little bit. When you first gave up monkhood, what was your opinion on the clothes of the world? Because you're used to wearing robes as a monk. When you first came out, what was your opinion on style, clothes, these things?
I think I dressed almost everything, like very baggy hip hop clothes. You won't believe, like you could fit an elephant in one of my pants. It was very baggy. Trust me, I think you wouldn't want to see my old photos. People used to make chicken sounds when I used to walk around, because I had like chicken pattern clothes and like spiky hairs and all that. But I think I was very fascinated by smart dressing, like suits and all that, very sharp, smart dressings, and like how the mafias used to dress up. I'm a big fan of Godfather and all that. So yeah, like Don Corleone, thoda sa.
Cool. One last question for you.
Yeah.
If you were to be buried and if you had a tombstone, what would your tombstone say?
That's very difficult. Honestly, here lies the 8th Palga Rinpoche. and he brought meaningful changes in so-and-so's life. That's it. Nothing else.
All right.
Yeah.
That was AJIO Presents Keep It Casual, sir.
That was fun.
So many new tangents to take this conversation on. And this is where I will now skip the stories and ask you some of my own questions as well. Beginning with what you said about Hinduism and Buddhism being similar yet very different. I'd like to know.
I think it will not be fair on my part to say that I can compare both religions or both faiths. Because Buddhism, I know a fair bit. Hinduism, I don't know that much. But from what limited knowledge that I have, and some of the swamis and the gurus and pandits that I know, the main difference would be that in Buddhism, and I may be wrong, but one of the main difference would be in the intention and the motivation of why we do certain things, like Havan, for example, fire puja, Agni Yag, chanting mantras, going to a temple, or even like eating, drinking, sleeping, and just breathing. In Buddhism, the idea is that samsara is full of suffering. The nature of samsara itself is suffering, and samsara is the deluded state of mind. That's what we call a samsara. Samsara is not a physical place, like you can say Juhu or Kolaba. It's not like that. Samsara is when your mind is confused and deluded, and your default emotions are that of ego, ignorance, anger, attachment, jealousy, greed, the negative emotions. So if your default emotions are negative, that's samsara. And if your default emotions are purified and is that of patience, compassion, love, generosity, so on, then it's nirvana. So in a nutshell, that's how we describe it. So in Buddhism, especially in the Buddhism that we practice, Mahayana and Vajrayana, we wish for all sentient beings, all beings, living beings, to be rid of suffering and to find everlasting happiness. And that's what we call enlightenment. To basically wake up from this matrix. The
simulation of materialism around us.
Yeah, because if I may expand upon it, from a Buddhist perspective, whatever we experience, whatever we see, whatever we feel, has two modes. One is appearance and one is its nature. We are caught up in the mode of the appearance. We don't go beyond appearance, and we don't see things for how they really are. We only see and feel things for how they appear. It's like a small child when he or she sees a movie and then cries at the end, "Daddy, wo doggy mar gaya," the dog has died, and the daddy will say, no, don't worry, this is a movie. Dog hasn't died. Daddy sees, the parents see the movie, the appearance, but they also know the nature, the real side of it, the background. The child doesn't know. So we are like children. We're caught up in the display, and we don't see the real nature of how things actually are. We only see things for how they appear. If you remember these two modes, tomorrow when you have a meeting, when you go to the beach, when you play football, when you go to the gym, when you interview somebody else, anything, things start to make so much sense. And you don't get caught up with only the mere appearance, the maya. You go beyond that. And you understand everything is impermanent. Everything is subject to change. People are not bad by nature. Temporarily, they get angry and all that. So it's okay. And sometimes it's okay not to be okay. You learn, perspective changes. So in Buddhism, our ultimate motivation is that all beings, sentient beings, be free from this kind of delusion and to see the real nature of phenomena and to be free from confusion and so on.
What are the two, Mahayana and Vajrayana? What are the differences?
So basically in Buddhism, there are three different vehicles. We call them vehicles. They're like three different paths that you can go on. There is the Theravada path, which is mostly practiced in some parts of India. I think in Maharashtra it's practiced quite a lot, and you have in Thailand, Cambodia. You've seen those monks, orange robes, barefoot and all that. They practice a very orthodox and very traditional form of Buddhism, and based very much on discipline. And their motivation and intention is mostly centered around themselves and their own small community. Now in Mahayana, it is expanded to all sentient beings, not only to yourself and to your monk community, but is including all the beings, because no living being wants to be sad, and every living being, whether it's human, dog, insect, want to be happy. That's why ants carry all that breadcrumbs. That's why dogs wag their tails. It's just there in nature. So Mahayana recognizes that. And Vajrayana is Mahayana, but it's like the turbo version of it with the nitro. So it's a very shortcut, fast path towards enlightenment.
Like how we have Tantra.
Yeah. And
Same
we practice Tantra, we practice Kriya Tantra, Charya Tantra, Anuttara Tantra, like different kinds of practices. We practice Havan. So we have included a lot of practices and traditions from different faiths also. Also from Hinduism, we have adopted a lot of things. Also from, like you mentioned at the beginning, Bon or Shaman tradition, we have employed a lot of things.
It's with the goal of nirvana.
Yes. Not only for yourself, but for all beings. So that might be the biggest difference, I think, between Hinduism and Buddhism.
Yeah. Fair. I mean, there is a thought in Hinduism about thinking for the welfare of society, but I've not come across too many Hindu scholars, at least on the show, who've spoken about complete general
Universal
positives. When you're a good person, when you do good deeds, you do accumulate a little more karma. When you pray, it's a little more karma. When you meditate intensely, it's a little more karma. When you do certain tantric rituals, it's even more. It's a volcanic amount of karma.
Yes.
Therefore, you're able to move down the path of enlightenment faster when you do certain rituals. Am I right till
You're
this
very
point?
right.
Okay.
Yes.
In the world of Hindu Tantra, there's a big significance of deities, which is basically a format of God. So you have the universal God, which is Parabrahm, and then you have a version of it which is understandable for the human mind. That same God expresses itself as Durga Ma or Krishna or Shiva or Hanuman. It's God, but expressing itself in a version that would be helpful to you based on your subjective reality and path.
Okay.
Now, what I understand is that in certain parts of the world that practice Buddhism, even you have deities.
Yes.
Like Tara.
Yes.
Yes. You want to give us a little bit about the Buddhist angle on deities and how does Buddhism generally look at deities? Because the assumption about Buddhism is that we pray to the Buddha when we talk about Buddhism. Like that is Shiva, I'm assuming.
Yes.
For a lot of Hindus, Shiva is the ultimate.
Yes.
For a lot of Hindus, Krishna is the ultimate. So I would assume that for Buddhists, Buddha is the ultimate. But then where is there a room for deities?
Okay. So Buddha, when we mention the Buddha, we are talking about Siddhartha Gautama, who was a prince in ancient India and so on. We look at him as an inspiration. We look at him as a guide, as a sort of like a prophet, one who showed the path, at least in this eon, in this kalpa, in our age. So we pay homage to him, but we don't see him as a god. That is against Buddhist ideal. So we don't actually believe in a creator and a destroyer. We believe in the accumulation of positive karma and negative karma. Deities like Tara, Avalokiteshwar, Vajrapani, Manjushri, we have a myriad amount of deities, some peaceful and some wrathful.
Really?
Yes. So
by wrathful, do you mean evil?
No. By wrathful, I don't mean evil. I don't mean angry. By wrathful, I think the one way to put it would be to use the Indian anecdote of, I love this word, Laton ke bhoot, baaton se nahi mante hain. So
fierce.
Yeah, fierce, wrath. We just use the term wrathful, but not angry. They're not angry at you. It's like when a parent scolds you. When your parents scold you, it's not that they hate you. They want to harm you. They want to help you. They want to guide you. But at that time, you're too naughty. So you will only understand the language of air pulling if you're lucky and a tight slap if you're not that lucky. So in Buddhism, we have wrathful and peaceful deities. And deities, we see them as, okay, now if you talk about the highest level teachings of Buddha, they are manifestations of your own true nature. In a nutshell, they are certain manifestations of your own true nature, a reflection of your own true nature.
Deities?
Yes. Like Avalokiteshwar is the compassionate nature in a human form of your own true compassion. Tara is a manifestation of your true nature's activity. Manjushri, wisdom. Vajrapani, power, and so on. And then some of the deities, the similarities are very vague and very similar. But then the differences are very similar. But basically, that's how we see deities are. We don't see them as external beings residing somewhere and just blessing us. We try to invoke them by chanting their mantras, by visualizing them. And in doing so, we're not connecting with someone who's out there. We're connecting with our own primordial true nature, which we feel is enlightened. So our true nature itself, our core is good, it's clean, it's enlightened. It's just a wrapping. It's wrapped up. It's like a diamond Kohinoor wrapped up in a rag. If you have a rag over there, nobody would know there's a Kohinoor inside. So it's a bit like that.
So God is inside you?
Yes, you can call it God. You can call it Buddha nature, Tathagata Garbha. Tathagat Garbh, the Buddha nature. You can call it enlightenment. Yeah.
Okay. You've witnessed a deity in front of you?
In the human form, yes. Like His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. We consider him to be a human manifestation of Bhagwan Avalokiteshwar, of the deity Avalokiteshwar. My own guru, His Holiness the 12th Gyalwang Drukpa. We consider him to be the manifestation of different deities, but usually they are the manifestation of Avalokiteshwar, because we feel that the true nature of compassion manifests in human form in our society, not only as a Buddhist, but can be a Muslim, can be a Hindu, can be an atheist, can be a scientist, can be anything.
Okay. So I remember the last time I met you, you spoke about a ritual you had done where you had to become very cold for some time. I'd love for you to share that anecdote with the audiences, because it seems like it was a version of torture, but now I'm understanding it might have been some sort of a tantric ritual you were doing for the sake of your spirituality going forward. I mean, I knew this then, I just have the words to explain myself now.
Okay.
So what was that? And what did it do to you? What happened at the end of it?
Okay. The practice is called Tummo. And it is part of the 6 yogas of Naropa. Naropa was a great Indian Mahasiddha, an enlightened being. And he created these 6 meditations. We call them yogas, but 6 different meditations. So the primary one, the one at the beginning, is what we call Tummo. It is basically Kundalini yoga. So you use the fire element of your body and you visualize. I'm not able to describe in detail because it is a secret practice. And just so that people don't get, excited about this practice, is so cool, I want to do it. They just do it for the sake of being cool and not for the true purpose. So I will not go into the details, but basically you are invoking your inner fire channel in your body, and you prepare yourself. You do certain pranayams, certain breathings, you do certain yoga, certain movements, and you prepare yourself for 1 month, 2 months. After that, then we go to the Himalayan mountains in Ladakh, and in January, which is the coldest month, the coldest day, which is mid-Jan. Trust me, when I say it's cold in Ladakh, in the mountain, it is extremely. It's like, I'm talking minus 30 actually. I never took a thermometer with me, but I think next time I'll take it. I'll send you a screenshot if the phone doesn't freeze. But I think it must be minus 25 to minus 30, extremely cold. So we depart at 11 p.m. and we meditate throughout the night outside in a group of maybe like 5, 10, 15 people, 15 yogis. And we are dressed only with this belt and a special underwear. That's it. And we sit in the snow and we meditate using our breathing, a combination of breathing, a combination of visualization, and that's it. Breathing and visualization.
You don't feel cold?
You don't feel cold. You actually start sweating.
Because your body generates that much heat.
Yes.
Because of your breathing patterns and your
visualization. And your visualization. It's so powerful. We don't even chant that time. It's mostly breathing, and because we have already prepared. For a couple of months. And then your body starts to heat up and you start seeing steam, and the snow around you melts a little bit. And we finish around 7 a.m. in the morning when the sun is about to rise. And sometimes we wrap thin shawls, wet shawls around the body to see how many you can dry up. So it becomes like a mini competition. It's a lot of fun, actually. So you're doing a dry cleaning business. I don't know how hygienic it is, but you're sitting there, minus 30, and people are wrapping, wet. It's almost minus 30. They're wrapping wet shawls around you, and you have to dry it with your Kundalini fire.
It's like some sort of an exercise for your Kundalini?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, to see it's like to measure your the heat levels, and the purpose is not to be cool or not to be famous. The purpose is that you use this inner fire to burn your negative emotions and to inflame the fire of compassion and love. Then what happens, and I think I'm allowed to talk about this only until that point, you gain what we call Deva Chinmo. Deva Chinmo means great joy. Your body feels, it's sort of like, honestly, I think I'm not wrong when I say it's kind of like orgasmic, but it's constant. And you feel this great joy permeating through your body. And you're always happy. You're always kind of like in a high. It's a very weird feeling.
But even that's a distraction.
Yeah, I mean, it can be the wrong motivation for people to do it. But then I think if you prepare yourself well and if you have a good guide, you know not to get caught up with these kind of experiences.
Okay. So it's basically for spiritual advancement.
Yes.
It's an exercise and you test yourself every year to see if you can go further.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. And I'm sure there's a ton of practices you can't even speak about on the show.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I don't want to probe much.
No,
more.
it's okay. I will only speak as much as I feel I'm allowed to.
All right. Because this is the Ranveer show.
Yes.
One of the themes we have on the show is the occult. My intention for always bringing up the occult is because it grips teenagers, it grips the modern day human.
Yes.
Because times have gotten so dark. In your past life, it ended in a dark fashion. It says something about where human nature is going. And even that human nature sometimes is beyond our control as human beings. It's God's doing. Times are becoming dark. My intention for bringing up these kind of concepts on the show is so that people listen in and then also listen to the spiritual stuff. Because not everyone's ready to just listen to the spiritual stuff.
Yes.
Do you deal with occult elements in your own practices? In terms of the one thing I've learned about the paranormal, and it comes up a lot on the show, is that when we talk about things like ghosts or beings or aspects of Satan, they feed off of the same energy that you're accumulating for your spiritual practice. आप भूत से मिले हो?
Being a Buddhist, I don't lie, and I will not lie ever, and especially not on your show. I will not say that I've seen a physical ghost with the tongue sticking out, with the legs bent, and I don't know, fire coming out of his mouth. But to be honest with you, we do what we call exorcisms. Rinpoche is one of the duties of a Rinpoche is when somebody is possessed by some sort of spirit, whether it's evil, malevolent, just bad spirit, we have to exorcise the person and to protect the person from further harm. That I've seen. I haven't seen a physical ghost appear out of somewhere. Yeah. So we do some, how you describe, occult stuff. And in the Himalayas, it's a very ancient place. Lots of wars have taken place. It is still not developed like the rest of the nation. So lots of the places are still virgin in terms of spirituality. So lots of spirits reside in the plains, in the mountains, in the rivers. Sometimes when you build your house in the wrong location and without doing the proper pujas and bhumi puja and all that, without doing the proper cleansing and offering. Like for example, if somebody were to rent your place and if you're willing to sell it or to rent it, they have to give you some money. They have to talk to you properly, nicely, write a contract and everything. If you don't do that, if somebody comes and just puts his tambu in your house, you will not be happy. And you will do your best to eject them. So it's a bit like that. We don't see the spirit world, and especially if it's a clean, ancient world. And then if you all of a sudden start digging up for foundation, put up a toilet, septic tank of pani, like everywhere. So yeah, some of the spirits get angry and they start, attacking you in a way and entering the body of people. That I've seen many.
Okay. How do you feel when you're dealing with them? When you're doing an exorcism?
Compassionate, because they're also suffering. I don't take offense from such spirits. I understand why they are entering the body of another person and what they're trying to express. Their, their anger, their revulsion, their dissatisfaction. So I feel compassion, and based on compassion, I try to remove them peacefully from the person's body.
You've had a conversation with any of them?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, when an innocent Ladakhi girl or a guy, most of the time it's a woman actually, I don't know why, when she's possessed and she is pure Ladakhi, and Ladakhi language is a little bit different from Tibetan, though we have similarities. It's based on the same script, like maybe Hindi, Nepali a little bit, I think. So, but she speaks perfect Nepali then, like perfect Tibetan. And then she says, I'm from this place, I'm from that place. And you have never heard of such place until you verify. And you realize that there was such a place, as somebody had fallen down a gorge and drowned or killed or whatever, and just very unhappy and just wandering around looking for liberation, and found this innocent girl. So, yeah, so then when somebody speaks a different tone, a woman has the voice of a man and starts speaking a different language, you start to take notice whether you're superstitious or not. I'm not a superstitious person. I am a modern person, slightly educated, been around the world. I don't believe in like things easily until I see them. So I've seen them and I've talked to them and I've interacted with them. Yes.
Okay. Do they acknowledge your spiritual prowess?
Yeah, they usually kind of freak out a little bit. They look at me and they're like, go away, and I'm sorry, but and I'm scared of you. Please don't harm me. Because we say that Rinpoches, we have been practicing the Buddhist path for so many generations. Like I've been doing it for 8 rebirths. So maybe like 500 years roughly, more or less. So then we also do a lot of what we call protection deities. We have a lot of protection deities. They're very powerful and they accompany us. So some people who can see, who are possessed, but not with the bad spirits, with some relatively good spirit, they look at me and they're like, on your right shoulder, there is Chakmen, which is a male deity, very powerful. On your left shoulder, there is Palden Lhamo, which is like Kali Mata. And then you have a third eye on your forehead. So yeah, they say certain things like that. So we are accompanied by deities. So wherever Rinpoches go, his deities will accompany him to protect him, so that his activities will not be, there will not be obstacles. So when some of these people, bad spirits, they see me, they sometimes freak out a little bit and they say like, oh, I'm so sorry, for doing this. Please don't harm me and all that. But I assure them, I'm only here to help you, and please stop torturing this person. And I say certain mantras, mostly I try to do it compassionately. Yeah.
Mostly,
yes. Some of them are quite naughty and लातों की बूद भी होते हैं तो.
I can't imagine you angry or fierce. Just when I talk to you, I feel like I'm talking to someone younger than me. Like you give out that kind of Son Goku energy. That's what I'll say. But when and what do you do when you have to become fierce with the spirits?
Honestly, I never beat them. I never physically harm them. Maybe I'll squeeze their hands a little bit. I will grab their head and I will just squeeze their skull just a little bit to grab their attention. I'll make them look into my eyes and I will try to enlarge my eyes, though I have very small eyes, and I'll tell them, now I'm not, bullying. I'm being serious and you really have to let go of this person. You really don't want me to, you don't want to see the bad side of me. And I do have I can say, I do have a fierce side. It's been suppressed for a long time.
You've had to take it out and out fierce side?
No, I haven't taken it out for many years and I really don't like to take it out.
Are you comfortable talking about when you took it out?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's like, I really get out of control actually. And something happens to me. There's this fire burning in my body. Everything becomes very reddish, dark reddish, black and white. and I just focus on that person or the thing that is enraging me so much, and I just zero into that, and I don't say anything else. So I used to feel that more when I was younger, but now I think with practice, with meditation, that has become more under control. Yeah.
You carried these deities and abilities with you when you went to Europe?
Well, I honestly speaking, I really don't know I carry them or not. That's what, these spirits tell me. But supposedly it goes with me wherever I go. And maybe sometimes when people say like, oh, Rinpoche, I feel this aura with you, you're a little bit this and that. Maybe they feel certain aspects of these deities. They're projecting something on my behalf, or I don't know. But I've had near-death experiences. Like I've almost drowned once. When I drove my Maserati at 300 kilometers per hour on the Autobahn, almost crashed. I was very foolishly, Peugeot 106, I think, in England. I was very poor. I had a Peugeot 106, lovely little car. I was going to work and I wanted to change my sweater. So while driving, took off my seatbelt, okay, and I was taking off my sweater. It got stuck. I couldn't pull it out. I pulled it down and I was almost entering the lane that was coming this side. So I almost died there, like maybe a split second. I managed to put it back. So few near-death experiences. And also when I had COVID, almost died 2 years ago, very badly hit by COVID. I had pneumonia before I had COVID. So my defense went down, my immune system went down. And I think it was the first one. I don't know which one it was, but it was very fierce. There was no vaccination, nothing at all, and almost died then. But I think that was a time when I felt I was okay to die. I'm ready to die. Like if I have to die, I'm okay.
Yeah. But you were supposed to do all this more work in the world.
I guess I had to be on the Ranveer show. Honestly.
Damn those Chinese people. They're like, no, I'm kidding. Okay. We'll I want to know a little bit more about the deity aspect, sir. You spoke about wrathful deities as well. Why are wrathful or fierce deities even needed in the first place? Is it for even more fierce spiritual advancement? Is it for more fierce protection?
Bit of both. Sometimes you need a little bit of fire in your practice, a little bit of arrogance in the way you carry yourself to become successful in daily life, but also in spiritual life. So in those parts, you need certain wrathful deities.
You mean the elements of those deities rub off on you?
Yeah, that's what we call about transformation. So what happens, I think I'm okay to share this with you on this show. When you are in a 3 years and 3 months retreat, the basic practice, the major practice that you do is you receive the empowerment of a certain deity. Okay, you get introduced basically to a certain deity. You have the deity's phone number, let's say. You know where the deity is living, on the 9th floor, on this building, on that side. So basically, you've entered the deity's premises. The deity has allowed you to enter the deity's premises. You get introduced like this through an abhishek, empowerment abhishek by guru. After that, then you are empowered to practice a deity, and then the deity's powers rub on off you, like you put it. And we do this by visualizing ourselves as a deity constantly for 3 years and 3 months and chanting the deity's mantra. Nothing else, day and night, as much as you can. We sleep in this position. We wake up and we chant the mantra. We literally brainwash ourselves with the deity's, powers and everything. So I guess you kind of absorb the deity's personality, the deity's powers, and it starts manifesting in your activities, the way you feel, the way you carry yourself. You can be compassionate, you can be down to earth, but then a flick of a finger, you can be this wrathful, fearful deity, and just comes out and people are like, whoa. So yeah.
And with age, you learn how to control it?
Yeah, exactly. So you have like this Jekyll and Hyde inside you, and you try to control the wrathful one because that's slightly more unpleasant, and that's only like a last resort kind of thing.
In what kind of situations?
In many situations, honestly, you can apply this to everything. Finances, relationships. I think especially to relationships.
I think the girls had some wrathful deities in them.
I think they imply more wrathful than we guys do.
On me. Anyway, go on.
No. That I attribute to your good looks and to your good energy and to your past good karma. Yeah, you have been a good person. I think you were very In Buddhism, we say you were very patient in your past life. So in this life, you have lots of people who like you. Yeah. So that's your good karma from your past life. Anyway, moving forward. So yeah, I think I really cannot tell you like particularly when do we use the wrathful aspect or when we don't. I think it comes out and goes whenever necessary.
Okay.
It's like the AC on auto actually. So when the temperature is like you set it to 25 and the room ambience, there are like 30 people in the room, the temperature heats up, it automatically goes down to maybe 17 or 16, it cools it down. So it's a bit like that. Once you realize there are less people, less body heat, it goes up again and maintains at 25.
Okay. Are we good to go a little longer?
I can go all night.
I'm going to go one layer deeper.
Okay.
With your permission and the deities' permissions around you. As a human being or as a soul that's chosen monkhood, do you have a lot more duties in a realm other than this realm that we're in right now? Like we're in the physical realm. There's a higher realm, which in a lot of books is called the astral world. It's the world of dreams. It's the world of deities. It's the world of ghosts. I've come to realize that all monks have much more work there. Probably a lot of spiritual human beings also have work there, but they're not aware that they're working there. And those memories are erased every time you wake up in the morning. Not for everyone, but for many human beings. Are you comfortable talking a little bit about this?
Yeah. It's part of my life.
Okay.
So, when you come to Ladakh, not if, when you come to Ladakh and spend some time with me, I will introduce you to some of the oracles, people who get possessed by good deities, and they prophesize the future vaguely. They kind of direct you towards certain things. They will, just to gain your faith, they will tell you something that only you know, initial. Then after that, they will talk to you. Once that happens and you know, oh my God, and you keep your mouth open, you look at everybody else and you know that only Ranveer Alabadia knows this thing, nobody else, maybe one person more, then you gain their trust. So I'll introduce you to some of the oracles that I know and have gained my trust and faith. And they tell me of like, they guide me sometimes when I meet them. They tell me not to worry, that all the deities are with me. I'm doing a really good work. And they ask me to be careful of this politician, that person in the village. They ask me to be careful of this period, like 3 months, just be a little bit careful. After that, it'll be okay. Things like that. So they also tell me about like, to which village to go to and to which place to visit and to consecrate, to cleanse it using Buddhist teachings, mantras and so on, like doing yag, for example. We do a lot of yag. I personally do a lot of Agni yag, So
what other kind of yag is there?
Well, the main yag is Agni yag, but then there are different kinds of yags. Okay. But the main yag is Agni yag, yeah. And we chant a lot of mantras. Mantras are very powerful. So they guide me through that in the spiritual, because they see the spiritual realm, the dimension. We only see the human dimension, Though I'm not an expert on this, but they tell me that certain place needs certain things and you should go there, you should do this, you should meet this person, and be careful of that person. And he's planning this, he's planning that. And I'm like, okay, I'll be on my lookout, don't worry. Yeah. So they give me a naughty list most of the time.
Okay. Do you remember your dreams?
Yes. But to be honest with you, I don't dream that much.
Okay.
Yeah. For some reason, I don't dream that much.
Do you think your soul is at work?
I hope so. I hope so. But I really don't dream that much, and I'm very happy that I don't like dreaming too much. I think we have enough dreaming going in the daytime. Because I think it's also one thing I want to touch upon is the power of meditation, Ranveer. It's crazy, man. It makes you rest. It gives you rest at such a level that even when you sleep for 2-3 hours, you feel like you have had a sleep for 8 solid hours. The power of meditation, because it rests your soul, your core, your mind, your consciousness. It rests all the layers of your being. The ultimate of which is the core is the soul. The soul is the soul is the core, and on top of that you have consciousness. You have like different layers. it rests everything down to the core. So when you wake up from your sleep, if you're meditating and then you sleep for 2-3 hours, you feel like you're ready to go again. It's a crazy thing. So I think maybe that's why I don't dream that much. But if I do dream, I remember them, yes.
Okay, then let's talk about meditation. I've been meditating for 5 years now. And at this stage of my life, I feel I'm going slightly deeper. And sometimes I feel it's not an outcome of the effort I've put in. It was just the point in my own lifetime where I had to reach, in my own timeline. I had to reach this point, and then the meditation would allow me deeper. Am I right in saying that? Are some
Yes.
things okay?
Yes.
Some things are predestined.
Yeah, I think it's like Mario reaching the pipe and entering the pipe,
Mm.
So unless you reach the pipe, I'm sure you played Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't reach the pipe, you cannot go down to the bottom level. So it's a bit like that. And I think at certain points in our lives, we reach like a portal, and then you enter it, and then certain practices help you to go deeper into certain aspects of your life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'll take it one level further. The yogic path has always fascinated me since I discovered meditation, because I realized, your body and your mind can be manipulated through yoga a little bit, and you can make it more conducive for meditation.
Yes.
So I left non-veg. I left alcohol. With some difficulty, I left marijuana.
Okay.
But I left them slowly. Okay. And at this stage now, I'm thinking, next is maybe junk food, like shit that you put into your body.
Yes.
And if you can give up these, you'll go even deeper into the meditation.
Yes.
But my question is that all these cravings of alcohol, weed, smoking cigarettes, non-veg, sex, are the cravings also placed in your head because of destiny? Like, do the desires also come out of some place? And then in the same way that your meditation goes deeper at some point in your timeline, do the desires also leave you at some point in the timeline? Or are you supposed to work on it yourself?
I think you don't necessarily have to give certain things in your life. I know some yogis who eat meat and they are the best meditators. I know some yogis who have sexual partners, married relationships, and they are like some of the best meditators, most spiritual people I've met. And I know some who smoke weed. So I think you don't necessarily have to give up certain things in life. But when you're starting, for the common person, so that you don't get caught up in certain webs, or let's say you don't get caught up in hooks and get torn apart, it's good to remove those hooks from the wall, so that when you enter your room, your body doesn't get caught up, your clothes don't get torn. But as you go deeper in spirituality, you realize that most of the things that you want to abstain from and you want to renounce are inside you, not outside you. That's the real renunciation.
You're saying that abstaining from negative emotions is more important than abstaining from...
Yeah, from jealousy, from greed, from attachment, from ego, from,
That's more important than alcohol, non-veg, weed.
Yeah, much more. But obviously when you start, those can be misleading, and they can you can get addicted to certain things and they may harm you. So maybe initially it's good to abstain from meat and alcohol and marijuana and whatnot. And eventually, as you go deeper, when you learn the real renunciation, the real abstinence, which is from within, then you realize that these external things don't make any difference. They may sometimes even enhance your practice.
Let's talk about that.
Okay, let's talk about sex. Okay, bluntly speaking, in the Buddhist Vajrayana path, there is an element of meditation we called sexual union. So we, those who have not taken celibacy vows as a pure monk, those who have not taken the celibacy vows, at certain points they're allowed to have a consort, a companion with whom they, how can I put it? I don't want this to become misleading for the general audience. They practice in a union, which is sexual in nature, but the goal is not only sexual gratification like orgasm. The goal is to deepen their spirituality, they deepen their meditation. Yeah,
we've had a Tantra practitioner on the show who spoke about tantric sex, with the goal of tantric sex being witnessing a deity in its real form.
Yeah.
At the point of orgasm, but it's a very stretched orgasm, which you can't really call an orgasm.
That's very true. Yeah, I will not. I don't know whether I can say the same thing as in witnessing the deity, but I will say maybe realizing the deity. I would use the word realize. Realize the deity, realize the certain practice that you're doing at that time, whatever practice you're doing. And yeah, the object is not one orgasm for a few seconds and then done. It kind of continues and stays with you. That feeling, what I was talking about, the great joy, Deva Chinmo. so, so yeah, like, at that point, I think sex becomes an asset. So in Vajrayana Buddhism, the Buddhism that we practice, we don't even, we don't negate anything that can enhance. Because anger, like for example, anger is a very strong emotion. But if you can work with anger, if you can cultivate anger, it can actually burn your negative emotions.
Wow, you'll have to expand that thought.
Yeah. I don't know how to explain it, without guiding you through it. But let me just put it that way. Anger is like a fire that if you contain it in a heater, like in a stove, it can cook your food. It's like fire. But then when you let it out, when it goes out of control, if you don't know how to cultivate fire, it will destroy your house. So anger is a bit like that. If you let it out with ego, with intolerance, and with the intention of harming somebody, it can destroy you. It can destroy all your good points, karma, and it can also cause a lot of disharmony for the other person.
Like how breakups build bodybuilders.
Yeah, maybe I've never thought about that, but
the anger that comes out of a breakup,
okay,
you end up using in the gym, and you'll see a lot of gym bros like the guy in front of you. Where at 19, at 20, when you go through a bad breakup, often
Yes.
you'll like channelize that pain and anger towards building your body, because that's all you know.
Yes.
Then it becomes building your career, then it becomes building your spiritual growth.
So yeah, I think you can put it that way actually. So it's about channelizing things. In the Vajrayana Buddhism that we practice, we don't reject anything, we channelize it.
Okay.
That's how transformation works. Because if you only choose the 50% of the good emotions and you reject the 50% of the bad emotions, then you're only utilizing 50% of the energy. But whereas if you use 100% of them and learn how to work with them and channelize them and how to use them in your day-to-day life, meeting different kinds of people for different purposes, money, puja, anything, bodybuilding, traveling, it just enhances you 50% more.
So some people might consider this a shallow question. Some people might consider it a deep question. I have no opinion. I don't even know what kind of question it is. And I've kind of hesitated about asking this question on the show for a long time. Again, because of the place of not judging.
Okay.
Which I learned from you. That's why I think you're the right person to ask this question to. I think there was an astrology-based YouTube channel called Abhigya.
Okay.
And a relative of mine watches Abhigya a lot. And Abhigya spoke about how we're in a dark age. And a big part of the darkness is people killing animals for food. Like that, especially with factory farming.
Okay.
It's not even done ethically anymore.
Yes.
So his explanation was that ideally you shouldn't be killing animals for food. But if you have to, at least do it ethically, where it's farm raised, you take care of the animal. But now animals are being like born, like they're being created just for the sake of being killed and eaten.
Yeah.
And then they have to go through suffering. They're also a part of the universal consciousness and the consciousness of Mother Nature. In the same way that we're throwing them away as tissues, maybe the earth is starting to throw human beings away as tissues, just so they understand that, listen, you can't look at meat as just meat. I'm asking you this from a very non-judgmental perspective. Okay. I've been a hardcore non-vegetarian, been on one end of the spectrum. I've even practiced veganism. I'm vegetarian now. I eat milk products. I eat paneer.
Okay.
I just want to know what you think of this. Do you think that our acts on animals are actually causing the earth to go through what we're going through?
Yes, very much. The way we are warming the globe, extracting all precious natural resources, the way we harvest animals as food, we don't see them as living beings with capabilities of profound emotions and sensitive, beautiful creatures who can cry, who can laugh, who can run around you, who can give you the love that nobody else can give, and just to treat them as food and so on. Yeah, collectively, I think we are accelerating the dark age. We're not helping it at all. Becoming vegetarian, I think, can help in many different ways, not only to stop, causing suffering to innumerable amount of animals who are innocent, who are beautiful, and who deserve to be treated humanely, even if to be consumed for food by certain people. Though I think the entire world should become vegetarian. Uh, yeah, so I think it is accelerating the decay of our time, definitely. And myself, like you just were very honest to admit, I also was a diehard non-vegetarian until 5-6 years ago, living in Europe and all that, and being part of the Himalayan society. My previous incarnations were all Tibetans, and nothing grows in the winter there. So you have no option. You either eat meat or you starve. It's basically just that. Only recently in Ladakh, especially after we got UT, Union Territory, vegetables have become more abundant. They fly it from in the intense cold months. The government uses special cargo planes and transports vegetables because the roads are locked. Because of intense snow. So now we have a choice. So that's what I'm telling people. But in some of the villages which are near the borders, I don't talk about vegetarianism because it's not fair on the people. They do treat the animals humanely. There is no mass killing going on. So yeah, like if I tell them not to eat meat, what will they have? Maggie or top ramen? For how long? So, but in places where food is abundant, I tell them we have a choice now. And I make them aware of all the steroids and the hormones and the antibiotics that they inject into the animals, which are bad for our bodies. But also at the same time, about all the stress hormones that the animals excrete in their bodies. When we cut our fingers, we go, but imagine how it must feel when your body is tied up and your throat is being cut, when you're being stabbed on the head with a gun, and when you're being electrocuted. And I don't know, man. I mean, like,
When I was a non-vegetarian, my response to what you just said would have been, but it's so tasty.
mm,
Like, that's what I used to say. The thing is, your taste buds kind of are subjective.
yes.
And once you go vegetarian, your taste preferences change. Honestly, that's what I
Yes.
felt, but it's something you have to experience to really know. Again, no judgments. Everyone's food choices are their own at
True,
the end of the day.
true.
Coming back to this question about the dark ages, you spoke about oracles.
Mm.
Have they had anything to say about the age that we're
Yeah,
in?
they do. They say that people are losing faith. You can call Almighty God, goodness. People are losing faith in the teachings of the Buddha, of spirituality. People are becoming very materialistic, very instant, and they ask me to remind people and to connect to people because they are caught up in the spiritual world, and they can only speak to a few of us in a very intense way, gnashing their teeth, closing their eyes, like huffing and puffing and running around and jumping around and extending the tongue, and literally they're so frustrated. The expression comes out quite vividly, and I don't think we can have them on the channel, or I think it'll be quite
Podcast
scared.
with an oracle.
I think the mic you'll have to replace a lot of mics. But yeah, so they asked me to do my best to meet the right people, to amplify my voice like I'm doing through you and with other people, and to reach out to many people, and then to remind them to be more mindful, to be more spiritual, to be more compassionate, to replace their default emotions with good emotions. Yeah, so that's what they do. But they do take notice of the changing in times. And yeah.
Do they have a timeline in their minds? Because everyone believes that the 30s are going to be the beginning of the age of light. At least a lot of the spiritual people have spoken.
Okay.
Do you have any opinions on this?
Not really. Yeah, it's quite vague. We talk in terms of ages. We don't talk in terms of decades or, certain amount of time. We talk in terms of an age, an era. So it's quite vague. Yeah. But I think, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, though I'm not an expert, I think it's going to take some time, at least not while we are alive.
Really?
Yeah. I think we're still okay. But we may witness small decays here and there. But I think in our time, there are still good people in the world. And we can step on the brake a little bit and delay it.
But overall, the world is going to a darker place.
Yeah, the arc is not definitely favorable, but we do have certain people and they manage to correct the flight path a little bit, and hopefully it will not happen in our time.
Do you have any last message for everyone who's listened in to this very long conversation that we've had?
I have a lot of messages, but I just want people to remember one very important thing. To stop looking for happiness outside in external phenomena, because all external phenomena is compounded. They're made up of joining things like our bodies. We're made up of assemblage of marrow, bones, veins, flesh, skin, hair, and so on. A house, a beautiful house, it doesn't matter how beautiful it is. It is made of bricks and mortar and stones and so on. Money, 1 crore, 10 crore, 1 billion is made up of 1 rupee. It's an assemblage, it's a compound. So don't look for happiness in compounded phenomena because they're all impermanent. And by impermanent, I mean it doesn't last. It has a time limit. It usually has a price tag. Gucci ka itna, Armani ka itna. This version, that version, iPhone 14, iPhone 15, Maybach, Maseratis, this restaurant, that restaurant, this girlfriend, that boyfriend, everything is compounded phenomena. Everything is impermanent and almost everything has a price tag. So don't limit yourself. Don't assign a price tag. Don't assign the curse of impermanence to your source of happiness, because impermanence means something that is born, that comes into being, that remains, and then that it ends. It has 3 different modes. So your happiness will be born every time. It will stay for a little bit and then it'll be gone. Then obviously, likewise, your happiness will also be born, will remain, and be gone. And you will try to replicate it all the time. And it becomes very tiring, exhausting. You can get addicted to it. Like some people are addicted to parties. It was a very nice party. Next time, let's invite more celebrities, bigger venue, more music, longer time, maybe some other things to eat and drink. So then you want to keep recreating all these experiences. And they're all very addictive. That euphoria, that sense of happiness. Because it's all out there, it's external, it's compounded, it's impermanent. Instead, look inside, look within. Yeah. And with the foundations of love and compassion, patience, understanding, not judging others, understanding that everybody wants to be happy, thinking from your heart. Yeah. Smiling, just being good. And even if you know that the person is fake sometimes, and I'm sure you do meet certain fake people, and you know from your heart that you want to run from this room and you never want to see that person again, you have to be compassionate. You have to know that that person wants to be happy. He or she wants to be recognized. That's why they have put on certain clothes, talks in a certain way, shines in a certain way, and pretends in a certain way, crosses his legs, her legs, this motion, that laughter, that touching of the hands. You have to see everything with a sense of compassion, that person they want to be happy, like how you want to be happy. And you just say, yes, okay, good, very good. You just smile.
I nod my head like the meme.
Yeah. So you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, everybody wants to be happy. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Wow. Loved driving through your entire life, honestly. Not the last time having you on the show, sir. Very grateful for just having met you. And I would have had this conversation with you anyway. Best life in the world that I get to record it and earn my bread through this. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, sir. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your perspectives.
Before we finish, I would like to present you with a small gift for your new office.
This means so much.
So this is the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum.
Wow.
Yeah. And it has a extra syllable of Hri, which is to wrap it all up.
Hri?
Hri. H-R-I, Hri. So Om Mani Padme Hum. This is the basic mantra. These 6 syllables represent what I chanted in the beginning. Om Mani Padme Hum. It represents compassion and wisdom. It represents love. It represents patience. It represents generosity. It represents discipline, wisdom, everything. And it is I cannot express it in words how powerful this mantra is. It is the mantra that brings positivity. It is the soap that removes old stains and brings cleanliness to the fabric of your life. So I would like to offer this to you to be put up wherever you want in this space. And I hope that the power of this mantra brings positivity. Though you don't need that much.
I do.
You really are on the right arc.
Thank you, sir. This means so much. I know exactly where this is going up. This is going up in my bedroom. I will have to wrap it up very gently for now because from our end, our team also has a gift for you.
Thank you.
It's from Team TRS and AJIO. It's a little hamper with a few material goodies. I wish we could wrap in some spiritual goodies as well, but just consider that we've wrapped in our love, sir. So this one's for you.
Thank you.
It's a little heavy.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Just thank you for being on the show, sir. That's on behalf of AJIO and Team TRS. I can't thank you enough. And this is not the last time we will meet. I just hope you had fun today, sir.
I did. Really was such a pleasure meeting you, the rest of your team, and to be in this beautiful studio. And I look forward to meeting you again. And I know that next time we meet, we'll be in Ladakh.
Yes, that's true. Thank you. Thank you again, Rinpoche.
Thank you.
Since this particular conversation, I am 100% sure this is not the last time I'm meeting Palga Rinpoche, and this is not the last time you're witnessing Palga Rinpoche on AJIO Presents TRS. For more episodes just like this, follow us on Spotify. Every episode is available on Spotify 48 hours before it's available anywhere else in the world. This look has been styled by AJIO, so make sure you download the AJIO app and get shopping. What I will end this podcast with is a cute little tiny message for all the listeners and viewers. Please begin meditating. There's a quote from a spiritual mentor of mine who I won't name, but he told me that irrespective of how difficult your present is, your future becomes easier through meditation. That's the motivation behind creating and growing Level Supermind. It's linked down below. Make sure you check it out. And make sure you begin your own growth journey. AJIO Presents TRS will be back very soon.